Coming up on episode 5 of TSAtv, Split Second blows the wall out of TSA towers. 3D Dot Game Heroes makes us square-eyed. Another reason to love the PSP. Sequels make the news. Some joker from the community talking about games. And Nico Bellic on the UK election problems. Fast cars, big explosions and television superstardom. Split Second looks set to give arcade racing fans a new twist in the genre, and judging from the buzz around the demo, it could be hugely popular. The premise for the game has you competing in a reality TV show racing other drivers around several tracks which have been rigged with explosives. The aim is to win the race via a combination of good driving and timely detonations which hamper your opponents, or aid your own cause. The visuals are impressive and frame rates seem solid even when there are a lot of explosions on screen. The racing has a very arcadey feel to it, but the tracks seem to be designed very intelligently to allow a lot of lap time improvement and replayability. Split Second is out later this month and we'll see you on the track. .3D Dot Game Heroes bills itself as a love letter to retro gaming, and that analogy is an extremely good one. This game is a faithful homage to the classic Zelda games, with a couple of new ideas and a healthy dose of self-aware irony to give it an interesting edge. Of course, the thought of some classic Zelda-style action RPG gaming is pretty strong by itself, and while some of the dungeon design might not quite be up to Zelda standards, it is strong enough to sustain the gameplay without concern. The block-built, pseudo-pixelated style is glorious to look at in high definition, and the depth of gameplay will soon get you into the groove of the game and put any thoughts that you played this game somewhere before right out of your head. While there is much to be made of the similarities between this and the early Zelda games, it is also important to note that for those who haven't played the classic Nintendo franchise, there'll also be plenty of tongue-in-cheek jokes and video game culture references. 3D Dot Game Heroes seems acutely aware of what it is and perfectly willing to poke fun at itself and the rest of gaming culture. 3D Dot Game Heroes is a solid title with plenty to fall in love with, and we think it deserves its place on any PlayStation 3 owner's shelf. We give it a score of 8 out of 10. Regular viewers might remember me banging on about how great the digital comics application is, and those that know me will be aware of my love for minis. Full-on retail games on the PSP have often left me feeling a little bit let down. I saw a special offer with a well-known retailer's online arm for a game called Invizimals, which is bundled with the PSP camera. After a few encouraging reports via my followers on Twitter, I learned that not only would I get the camera and a quirky game to use it with, but Invizimals also features the vocal talents of Brian Blessed. Sold! The camera is a fairly standard little thing with a very low resolution and a terrible microphone, but a decent quality sensor. It's not going to replace my digital SLR anytime soon, but it's acceptable for a novelty peripheral. The game, however, is brilliant. This is my first proper experience with augmented reality games, and I have to admit I feel a little bit like some sort of Luddite visitor to the future. You collect the little animals which are invisible without the aid of your nifty PSP and the software on it, and then you battle other wardens. It was described to me as a cross between Pokemon and iPet, and I think that's a fairly comfortable analogy. Anyway, I've only played Invizimals for a couple of hours, so I'm not really qualified to actually review it, but I thought I'd throw together a little video to show everyone how brilliant it is, even just as a novelty. Look, they're fighting each other right there on my desk. That's my keyboard they're in front of, and my hand even shows up on the screen, but I'm too scared to put it in there while they're fighting. I don't want to get it bitten or burned. So there you have it. I found another reason to love my PSP, and I'm clearing all of these weird animals out of my house at the same time. On top of that, I get to listen to Brian Blessed teach me how to beat up tiny animals. I can't see a downside.
You win! Is he alive?
This week's biggest news has been about sequels. First, Dead Space 2 was formally announced by EA and Visceral Games. We loved the first one's tense atmosphere, unrivaled sound design and supremely intelligent narrative, so we're very excited, and just a little bit scared, to see the sequel. Secondly, Little Big Planet 2 was announced, after a few leaks, by Media Molecule. The sequel looks set to be bigger, more complex and even more intuitive than the first. Upgraded graphics, improved AI options and more customization seem to be the big promises, so we'll be watching very closely for any further developments.
Welcome to TSATV's first Meet the Viewer feature. Up this week, long-standing TSA in Handness Truce. You can sit down now, mate. Snog, marry or frag? Lara Croft, get in. Noriko or Princess Peach?
Snog, marry, frag, okay. Well, Lara Croft would be my frag because she annoys the hell out of me. Princess Peach, that would definitely be the snog just to piss off that little squirt Mario, and then I'd probably go with marrying Noriko because that's the only option left, and I've got to have a thing for redheads.
What's your favourite game and why?
My favourite game? Well, currently I would have to say probably Yakuza 3, purely because I haven't come across another game where you can beat someone to death with a fish. And of all time, it will have to be Monkey Island 2, purely because it's got pirates, zombies, and spitting contests. Sorted.
What's your favourite beverage?
Cider!
How did you find TSA?
How did I find TSA? Well, interesting story. I was scouring the internet for some bits and pieces of information about the Delamere Husky Rally, came across TSA, and been there ever since. Although I have to say I've been quite disappointed with the lack of coverage of Husky rallies.
What's the longest gaming session you've ever been involved with?
Longest gaming session would probably have to be that epic time that I played with a few friends and a lot of beer, GT4 for about 70 hours straight. By the end of that, I thought I was a car. Meow.
You've got 10 seconds to rant on the subject of your choice. Go!
10 seconds to have a rant? Are you joking me? 10 seconds? What am I meant to do in 10 seconds? I can't talk about anything for 10 seconds. I totally can't even think of what I'd be ranting about in 10 seconds.
Thank you, Hannes. We're sure everybody loved to meet you, and we look forward to never seeing you again on TSAtv.
The general election in the UK has left us with a confusing situation whereby nobody actually seems to have won, and everybody is keen to pretend they didn't lose either. At times of confusing political turmoil, we turn to something comforting: video games. Specifically, we've asked Nico Bellic from Grand Theft Auto 4 what his hot topics were for this election. Well, Nico was very interested to hear about the candidates' views on immigration and crime. He would quite like to see an amnesty on immigrants and the dismantling of our extensive CCTV network. He says it's about human rights, but we have some suspicions. The economy might have been a hot topic for some voters, but Nico is mostly unconcerned. He says that if we hadn't bailed out the banks, there would be less cash there when he robs them. He also told us that the price of guns with his local black market dealer is remaining steady, and he never pays for the fuel in the cars he drives anyway, so the price of oil isn't important either. He'd like to see cheaper hot dogs though. On the subject of education, Nico refused to comment. He said that his life was strictly an over 18 zone, so anything other than higher education was none of his concern. He did suggest that we phone some people he knows at Bulworth Academy though. So there you have it, an opinion on the political landscape as seen by a sociopathic mass murderer with a penchant for stealing, which is about as qualified as any other opinion we'll be hearing.